Imagine stepping into an ancient night, where the heavens above aren't just distant lights, but a living temple. Every star a carved pillar, every constellation an altar. Imagine early African skywatchers raising their eyes not merely in wonder, but in sacred reverence, believing that between shimmering cosmic lights lie stargates, portals to realms teeming with ancestral spirits and cosmic beings. In many southern African myths, stars were thought to be tiny holes in the sky, letting celestial light shine through, creating a sense of the night itself as a divine architecture. Meanwhile, in West Africa, the Dogon people speak of Nomo, amphibious ancestral spirits descending from Sirius, believed to have arrived in a vessel of fire and thunder, inaugurating the first contact between earth and sky. Tonight, for the next 25 minutes, we'll journey across this celestial temple. We'll explore how African communities built earthly sky temples, from aligned pyramids to stone circles, as mirror maps of the cosmos. We'll open the concept of stargates, ritual portals in myth and earth. We'll meet the cosmic beings, Namo, sky spirits, and star ancestors who bridge worlds. Let's begin. Lift your gaze, and let the sky open up as your ancestral temple, gate, and guide. Beneath the eternal gaze of the African sky lie structures not merely built, but consecrated. Temples not to kings, but to constellations, stars, and the divine order of the universe. These are the sky temples of Africa. Ancient structures aligned not randomly, but with careful reverence to the movements of celestial bodies. They are stone, yes, but also star maps, temples that mirrored the cosmos and made the heavens walk upon the earth. At the heart of this architectural spiritual phenomenon stands Egypt, where the Great Pyramids at Giza serve as perhaps the most iconic testimony. Their alignment with Orion's belt is not coincidental. Each pyramid mirrors a star, the entire Giza complex positioned with precision that even modern astronomical instruments find impressive. For the Egyptians, Orion, associated with Osiris, the god of resurrection, was a gateway. The pyramids were not tombs in the Western sense. They were celestial launch pads for the soul, aligned with the stars so that pharaohs could ascend, become gods, and return to the place from which divine authority flowed. Yet Egypt is only the most visible peak of a wider mountain range of celestial spirituality. In the southern part of the continent, we find Great Zimbabwe, a stone city whose spiraling paths and conical towers speak a language of sky and symbol. Though often interpreted as a political capital, its layout holds echoes of cosmic significance. Scholars and traditional elders alike point to the possibility that its design mirrors stellar spirals or lunar calendars. The massive walls, built without mortar, echo the seamless harmony of the cosmos, curving and circling like planetary orbits or ancestral pathways through time. It is a structure not of domination but of orientation, a guide to how life below mirrored the dance above. Further west, in the lands of Senegambia, rise the stone circles, thousands of them, erected across what is now Senegal and the Gambia. These megalithic formations, some over 1,000 years old, are more than burial markers. Oral traditions and archaeoastronomical studies suggest they were used as celestial calendars. Each circle, composed of carefully arranged laterite stones, aligns with solar and lunar cycles. During solstices or equinoxes, the light passes through specific stones, marking time for agricultural rituals or ancestral ceremonies. These were not monuments to the dead, but guides for the living. Structures that embedded cosmic rhythms into the cycles of sowing, reaping, birthing, and mourning. What binds these structures, from the pyramids to the stone spirals, from the stelae to the circles, is not just stone but purpose. They are embodiments of a worldview that did not separate sky from soil or spirit from science. The African sky temples were not observatories in the Western scientific sense, but sacred architecture that interpreted the heavens through song, ritual, and geometry. They allowed communities to live in rhythm with the cosmos, not merely watching stars, but dancing in alignment with them, praying to them, journeying with them. Spirituality in these temples was not a passive observation of the heavens, but a dynamic interaction. When a child was born, the stars were consulted. When elders passed into the ancestral realm, the stars guided the funerary rites. The temples became theaters of divine connection, where drumming, chanting, and sacrifice opened what could be called temporal stargates, moments in which the veil between the mortal and the divine grew thin. In this way, Architecture was liturgy. Stone became scripture. This perspective reshapes how we understand Africa's ancient technologies. They were not merely advancements in engineering, but sacred sciences. The builders of these sky temples were mathematicians and mystics, architects and astronomers, healers and historians. Their tools were not just chisels, but prayers. Their blueprints not just drafted in dirt, but intuited through dreams and divine guidance. Oral tradition held the equations. Drumbeat counted the seconds. Dance aligned the body with the stars. And today, many of these temples still breathe. Rituals are still performed in Osun Osogbo. The sun still touches stone perfectly in Senegambia, and Great Zimbabwe still receives pilgrims not as tourists, but as spiritual descendants. These sites remain places where community, cosmos, and creator intersect. They are places of pilgrimage, resistance, and memory. In the silence between stone and sky, one can still hear the ancestors whisper, "We built this not for power, but for presence. Not for kings, but for the cosmos." The power of African sky temples lies in their multiplicity of meaning. They are at once sacred, scientific, social, and symbolic. They are not fossils of a forgotten past, but living archives, earthly mirrors of a celestial realm. They remind us that Africa was never separate from the stars, but intimately involved in their story. Through them, we understand that to build on earth was to echo the heavens, to shape stone was to shape spirit, and to mark time was to touch eternity. In many African cosmologies, the concept of stargates transcends fantasy. These are thresholds connecting worlds, gateways woven into the fabric of time and space, where the earthly and the divine converge. To the peoples of the Dogon in Mali, Amma, the supreme creator, sent Namo, primordial amphibious beings, through cosmic thresholds from Sirius to Earth. In these myths, the Namo traveled across the heavens, descending through specified sky portals, and imparting knowledge of agriculture, weaving, and social order. These stargates were not metaphorical. They were cosmological nodes, mapped in ceremony, story, and celestial observation. The Dogon, mastering star maps that mirrored Sirius's dim companion, regarded their myths not as allegory, but as encoded historical memory of cosmic origins. In their worldview, interventive beings did not descend through church spires. They emerged through cosmic doorways that connected heaven and earth in an ever-flowing channel of knowledge, obligation, and spiritual authority. To the Zulu and Xhosa of southern Africa, the cosmos is equally alive and transactional, mediated by sky holes known as Ndawana. These are not mere poetic expressions. They are understood as fissures in the celestial dome, where human voices reach ancestral ears, and ancestral voices echo back into human hearts. Elders, diviners, and ritual specialists still recount nights when ancestors spoke through these sky holes, guiding rains or delivering warnings of danger. Stargate-like ceremonies accompany harvests and initiations, timed to when celestial bodies align, when the temperature dips, and when veils between worlds become translucent. The Ndawana are not static locations, they are moments of cosmic permeability. Ritual thresholds where prayer becomes passage and chant becomes conduit. In Ethiopia, the obelisks of Aksum point resolutely skyward, more than markers of empire. They function as symbolic conduits to heaven. Each tall, monolithic stela is carved with false windows and doorways, aligning with the sky's rhythms and inviting celestial communion. In bygone eras, priests performed ceremonies at their bases, opening channels through which kings were ritually connected to the heavens. These stelae echo the cosmic column of the Dogon, the star porch of the Ndawana, and the vertical passage from earth to sky. They form an architectural sky pier, a sacred opening in stone that persists in presence even when ceremony goes unseen. Across these traditions, rituals do not simply commemorate, they initiate. At Dogon gatherings, masked chant evokes the Namo's arrival, with drums beating the frequency of Sirius and chants rising like stellar signals. Participants move through trance and geometry, walking star-encoded patterns as prayers. In southern Africa, Zulu diviners drum and ululate to awaken the Ndawana, summoning ancestors to descend and inhabit their drums. The sound becomes the portal, the body, the vessel. In Aksum, priests once aligned their chants with the dawn sun on feast days, combining incense, melody, and prayer to transform stone into star-pierced gate. These rituals involve multiple elements of sacred opening. Chant resonates in harmonic frequencies believed to fracture the veil. Music pulses with timbres tuned to celestial rhythms. Sacred geometry aligns body and earth with stone and sky. Offerings, water, grains, incense, act as fuel for cosmic engines, asking the boundary between worlds to hold. These actions are not attempts to conquer the unknown, but to momentarily harmonize with it. They acknowledge that matter and spirit, earth and sky are connected, not in theory, but in ritual breath, in cosmic breath, in human breath. This understanding reframes cosmic architecture. It is not architecture as permanence, but architecture as passage. An obelisk is not an inert pillar, it is a spine of communion. A masked ceremony is not performance, it is a portal. A chant is not song, it is a call across realms. In each moment when the voice rises, the heartbeat quickens, and the community aligns. The stargate opens, not shut, not one way, but alive. And in that living alignment, humanity becomes less a spectator and more a participant in cosmic conversation. By exploring Dogon, Zulu, Xhosa, and Ethiopian traditions side by side, we begin to see that the impulse toward stargates is not random or isolated. It is a universal human gesture, a universal African expression of seeking cosmic connection. Africa's ancient peoples did not simply chart stars, they inhabited starways. They built not just monuments, but doorways. They raised not just pillars, but portals. The idea that the sky is a temple gains clarity. The human is not earthbound, but cosmos-bound. The ritual is not theater, but architecture. And the song is not artifact, but ascension. In this light, the stargates of African cosmology are living legacies. They are present in ritual reemergence today. Masked Dogon ceremonies by Sirius, Zulu songlines invoking Dawana, Axum pilgrimages timed to celestial events. These are not revivals of antiquity, but continuations of cosmic communion. The gateways remain open, where traditions are observed, voices still ascend, vibrations still align, and stars still answer. In every act of ritual initiation, a stargate is reopened, and the sky once again becomes the temple. Cosmic ancestry weaves a tapestry of celestial lineage and mythic import across Africa, where heroes are born not simply of earth and blood, but of stars and sky. Among the Dogon of Mali, the Namo stand as both ancestral teachers and cosmic emissaries, arriving from the Sirius system through sacred portals and leaving behind profound wisdom. These amphibious beings are credited with gifting humanity foundational knowledge, how to cultivate crops, weave cloth, measure time, and structure community. Puppeted masks dance during Dogon ceremonies, each movement a reenactment of the Namo's cosmic arrival, each chant a direct echo of starborn instruction. They are neither distant legends nor mere metaphors. They are ancestors, cosmic ancestors, whose origin lies beyond our atmosphere, yet whose presence resonates in daily life. Further south, in the lands of the Yoruba, stories emerge of sky women. Virginal spirits borne aloft by the heavens, sent to teach humans medicine, prophecy, and moral order. These women descend not in chariots nor as meteorites, but through ritual invocation and spiritual invitation, landing in small shrines beneath ceiba trees. As they touch earth, they speak prophecies, heal wounds, and plant the seeds of societal balance. Their uncanny ability to straddle both worlds, celestial and terrestrial, establishes them as bridges between human communities and the cosmos, cherished protectors who inform destiny. Similarly, among the Maasai of East Africa, serpentine figures known as sky-serpents are worshipped not as beasts but as sky-born guardians of rain and fertility. These serpents coil through myth as rainbringers, arching across the sky like living rainbow bridges. Their shapes are recalled in patterns painted on huts and carved onto ceremonial staffs. When drought threatens, Maasai elders walk to hilltops, calling sky serpents back with chant and dance, beckoning them to restore monsoon clouds. These serpents, born of wind and sky, remind communities that they live within weather systems established by the divine. In Egypt, cosmic ancestry rates near its pinnacle, where pharaohs claimed bloodlines to gods like Horus and Ra. These kings and queens were not elected or inherited politicians, they were sons and daughters of celestial beings. The concept of divine kingship traces back to Osiris, resurrected in the sky, Horus born of death ascending to embody kingship on earth, Ra crossing the sky in his solar bark each dawn. Pharaohs participated in divine ritual, not as intermediaries, but as incarnations. Their rule was not merely political but cosmic. Each coronation was a moment of cosmic alignment, symbolically marking the king's ascension to divine status. What links the Namo, sky women, serpents, and pharaohs is the principle of cosmic ancestry. African spirituality doesn't place gods in a separate realm. It makes gods part of human genealogy. The human and divine are siblings in a universal heritage. In this worldview, to honor an ancestor is to honor a star. To pray to a deity is to speak to kin. The result is a spirituality where ethical frameworks, healing systems, and community identities are rooted in cosmic origins. When an Oba in Ife commissions a shrine, he commissions a star. When a Maasai elder speaks to a sky serpent, she acknowledges a cosmic relative whose breath brings water and life. These cosmic beings also play pedagogical roles. They are teachers. Namo taught agriculture and social structure. Sky women delivered divine law and healing. Serpents taught harmony with nature and weather. Pharaohs upheld cosmic order through ritual and justice. The myths encapsulate knowledge, astronomy, medicine, agriculture, statecraft, transmitted through kinship with the heavens. This is why such stories endure, not as fantastical entertainment, but as living curricula. Moreover, cosmic ancestry democratizes the sacred. It is not reserved for high priests or monarchy. In many traditions, initiation into the knowledge of sky ancestors is possible for any seeker. A Dogon initiate may enter the Namo chamber beneath the cliff. A Yoruba devotee may hear a sky woman's voice in prayer. The heavens thus remain open, not gated by bloodline or caste, but accessible through devotion and ritual. Cosmic ancestry becomes personal ancestry. Each believer can trace a spiritual genealogy upward to the stars. Finally, cosmic ancestry affirms cosmic responsibility. Because the divine is kin, humans bear responsibilities beyond themselves. The rituals honoring Namo encourage agricultural stewardship. The invocation of sky women demands ethical living. The summoning of sky serpents underscores ecological balance. The coronation of pharaohs affirms justice. Treating ancestors like stars means caring for Earth as they care for cosmos. African spirituality, then, emerges not as passive myth, but as active lineage, human spiritual lineages stretching beyond the azure sky. Cosmic beings and celestial visitors are not exotic sculptures, but ancestral relatives. In honoring them, communities honor themselves, their environment, and the cosmic order. In remembering these lineages, Africa remembers that people were never merely human, they were children of stars, walking legacies of cosmic memory. In the quest to understand Africa's sky temples, modern science and archaeology have begun to confirm what traditional communities have long held in their collective memory. When scholars first pointed out that the three Great Pyramids of Giza align almost perfectly with the three stars of Orion's belt, it seemed like mere coincidence. But continued measurements using lasers and satellite imagery revealed alignment not just in the axes of the structures, but in their relative scale and spacing. This suggests a deliberate design to reflect celestial patterns in earthly stone. The pyramids are now interpreted not merely as tombs, but as earthly obelisks, calibrated to mirror cosmic architecture. As portals pointing both to the heavens and the underworld, aligning with precession cycles and celestial rhythms. Such precision would have required astronomical observations across decades, perhaps centuries, with priests and architects working as ancient astronomer-engineers. It is through this lens that one begins to see the pyramids not as isolated monuments, but as testimonies etched in stone that connect to African cosmology. A similar story plays out at Great Zimbabwe, where recent archaeoastronomical studies of the stone complex have traced alignments between its circular spiral-shaped walls and star patterns. Notably, the site's orientation seems linked to the Milky Way's position at certain times of the year, possibly guiding agricultural and ritual calendars. In these studies, scholars have uncovered what they call spiral cosmograms, swirling stone layouts that when viewed from above or in the shifting dawn light, echo the Milky Way's arc or reference cosmological glyphs still spoken of in Shona cosmology. The science of soil erosion, mapping, and aerial photography has shown that these cosmic alignments were not accidental. They emerged from a culture deeply rooted in sky knowledge, where stone and story shared the same syntax. Anthropologists and ethnographers working among the Dogon, Yoruba, and Shona communities have gathered communal narratives that echo sky temple use in daily life. Among the Dogon, knowledge of Sirius, including its dimmer companion Sirius B, was passed down through secrecy for centuries, long before modern telescopes confirmed the star's existence. Some anthropologists argue this knowledge could have originated from early contact or possibly from ancestral memories embedded in ritual and story. Similarly, Yoruba elders recount annual ceremonies tied to Orion's rising, honoring sky women and cosmic rhythms. Among the Shona, seasonal rituals, planting ceremonies, and funerary rites all align with Milky Way observations. Across these groups, the skies serve as mnemonic devices, with the narrative and observational knowledge woven into age-grade rituals, divination, and community memory. However, scientific inquiry also introduces skepticism, an important check against romanticization. Correlation is not causation, and not every alignment necessarily points to cosmic intentionality. Skeptics urge caution. Are these structures truly made to mirror stars, or are patterns imposed retroactively by researchers eager for cosmic connections? Some argue that with so many stars in many directions, alignments may occur by chance. This is why rigorous statistical analysis and ethnographic corroboration are essential. It is not sufficient to show stone lines up with a star. One must also verify that the builders themselves believed in that alignment, and that ritual or oral tradition corroborates it. This approach bridges archaeology with anthropology, eliminating the gap between pattern recognition and lived meaning. Even more crucial is recognizing the limitations of purely Western scientific frameworks. Indigenous knowledge systems hold contexts, languages, and ontologies that are often excluded from academic discourse. While archaeoastronomy may measure alignments in degrees and epochs, it remains silent on how those alignments operated within ritual, spirit, and cosmology. Dogon elders speaking of stargates invoke a worldview where architecture is animate and structural geometry is grammar. Yoruba skywomen stories situate ancestors in cosmic genealogy. Shona cosmograms are not drawn on paper but danced and mapped across village open spaces. Scholarly humility is required. We measure degrees and cycles, but communities gesture toward vibrational alignment, bodily, spiritual, cosmic. It is for this reason that collaborative research methods are gaining traction. Projects led by African universities, indigenous knowledge holders, and international scholars are seeking ways to co-create interpretation rather than extract meaning. In Zimbabwe, mapping efforts of Great Zimbabwe are accompanied by local, cultural committees, ensuring that cosmic narratives remain central rather than peripheral. Similarly, in Mali, Dogon oral historians now participate in camera-documented star rituals timed to Sirius eclipses, affirming that the story belongs to them, not to anthropologists alone. This framework insists that indigenous knowledge is not anecdotal. It is calibrating knowledge and epistemic lineage capable of partnering with modern sky mapping tools. In sum, the intersection of scientific discovery and ancestral wisdom offers a richer, more holistic account of African sky temples. The astronomical alignments of giant stones are not just archaeological curiosities, they are expressions of living cosmology that spans centuries. But it is in the synthesis between measured data and ritual memory, between drone imagery and dance, that true understanding emerges. Without honoring both, one risks dissolving sacred architecture into mere monuments. With both, one begins to perceive Africa's sky temples as what they were always meant to be. Living temples of stone and star, mathematics and prayer, community and cosmos. Across Africa and its diaspora, a profound resurgence of cosmic metaphors is reshaping spiritual landscapes, inspiring ritual, creativity, and cultural reclamation. In Ghana, young practitioners gather beneath open skies at equinoxes, drumming rhythms that align with solstice dawns. Modern meditations tune to celestial cycles that once guided ancestors. In South Africa, spiritual collectives host moonlit ceremonies at megalithic circles, reciting psalms in indigenous languages and invoking star ancestors to bless communal healing. These are not reenactments of the past, they are living testaments, vibrational bridges between stone and soul, between cosmos and community. Across the Atlantic, Afrofuturist circles in the Caribbean and the Americas adopt African stargate symbolism to heal cultural rupture and reimagine futures. In New Orleans, spiritual technologists use virtual reality to simulate ancient star temple rituals, blending Dogon Stargate cosmology with contemporary digital art. Meditation groups in Lagos invite participants to visualize themselves as celestial beings, siblings to Nomo or sky women, through breathwork and guided journeying into their ancestral skies. The effect is not escapism, but reclamation. Ancestral lineages long suppressed by colonization are being retrieved through ritual embodiment and cosmic immersion. Art, literature, and film have become powerful vessels for this resurgence. Nigerian-American author Nnedi Okorafor weaves stories of cosmic beings and stargate-powered journeys into her novels, casting African spirituality as cutting-edge science fiction. In works like Who Fears Death and her short fiction, ancestral star travelers remain alive in futuristic communities, proof that cosmic memory resists erasure. In visual art, audiences encounter installations projecting constellations onto sculpted stone portals or weaving celestial beadwork into fashion pieces that shimmer under ultraviolet light. Filmmakers reobserve rock-hewn shrines and ancient stone circles at sunrise, pairing drone footage with traditional chants to reveal how humans once engaged directly with the sky as temple. Even mainstream Afrofuturist music borrows from Dogon rhythms and Yoruba chants, synthesized into beats that echo cosmic pulse, uniting global audiences in shared heritage. Every note, frame, and manufactured fiber becomes a cosmic prayer, a statement that African spirituality is not relic, but revelation, alive, interactive, and future-forward. These revivals are political as well as poetic. To reclaim sky temple metaphors is to assert sovereignty over narratives long defined by colonial erasure. Communities are founding sky literacy workshops, teaching children not only constellations, but the stories and figures behind them. Nomo, Ama, sky women. In Cape Town, indigenous clans host stargazing gatherings, weaving ceremonial chants with astrophysical explanation as a reconciliation between science and tradition. In Brazil, candomblé temples hold Noite do Céu ceremonies, where worshippers call on Orisha connected to celestial bodies, reconnecting African cosmologies stolen during the Middle Passage with rituals of diaspora survival. These acts are spiritual sovereignty in motion, excavating cosmic genealogies as foundations for collective identity. They refuse assimilation by framing African sky knowledge not as superstition, but as cosmic epistemology, an African knowledge system oriented to stars and ancestors, not only to colonial texts and Western science. In sum, contemporary resonances of African cosmic spirituality combine ceremony, art, meditation, storytelling, and scholarship into a living constellation of cultural renewal. These revivals are not nostalgia for a lost past, but a dynamic, decolonial reawakening. Through each starlit meditation, each cosmic narrative, and each ritual recommission of ancient stones, Africans and their descendants affirm that the sky has always been a home, even when those connections were suppressed. Today, across continents and generations, the sky temples are once more open, portals of memory, power, and reconnection, where the cosmic past becomes a living present, and where African spirituality reclaims its rightful place among the stars. The sky has always been more than a backdrop. It has been temple, archive, and cosmic compass, bearing witness to the ingenuity and spirituality of African ancestors. Tonight, we have traced how architecture, myth, ritual, and astronomy converged in sacred structures and stories that treated stone and star as equals. From pyramids aligned with Orion to Dogon stargates, from sky-descended cosmic beings to Afrofuturist revivals, a single truth emerges. The heavens were never distant, they were kin, teachers, and living memory. These traditions remind us that spiritual design is not confined to Earth but mapped across constellations, that sacred geometry weaves us into cosmic lineage, and that African spiritual genius spanned planets as much as tribes. Now, the invitation is yours. Step outside and look up not simply at stars, but at beacons of memory, doorways to cosmic ancestors whose presence endures. Ask elders for sky stories, trace constellations with fresh eyes, let your breath become chant beneath the night. By doing so, you rekindle ancient connections, rooting spiritual identity in universal skies. Look up tonight, not at stars, but at beacons of memory, doorways to cosmic ancestors. May their wisdom light your path as it has through centuries past. Thank you for spending this time with us, beneath sky and story, honoring cosmic heritage and witnessing what endures beyond sight. Your presence is gratitude, remembrance, and promise.